interesting one about the sort of cyber attack story is that cloud actually gives you, and I say using the word cloud because it means 1,000,001 things, but you now have the ability to move some of your resilience against such things up your technology stack. So when you think back to 20 years ago and how we did resilience against attack or resilience against all manner of disasters, it was all done in hardware. Okay, so people talk about tier 4 data centers, multiple backup UPSs, generators, etc., and then maybe we started to get to 2 replicated tier 4 data centers, and the banking industry has been doing this kind of thing for a long time. What cloud technologies, and this is more specifically up in the platform as a service layer as opposed to the infrastructure as a service layer and the application layer, allow you to do is to actually configure your application to treat almost entire data centers as failure nodes and still have the maintenance of your system. So the answer being, instead of running in 2 very expensive tier 4 data centers, you could run your system in 6 tier 1 data centers spread geographically and achieve the same level of service, if not a better level of service, and suffer the loss of maybe 3 or even 4 of those data centers and still maintain service. The geographic location of whether those are all within Estonia or not is, up to how you want to deploy that system. But a great example of this is Netflix with Amazon, because Amazon runs things called availability zones, and what happened was Amazon had a massive outage last year. It was fairly popular, and a lot of people knew about it, and a load of people complained that Amazon had failed. Amazon hadn't failed. Amazon had actually met their service level agreements. Netflix stayed up. Netflix had written so that their system was built across multiple availability zones, so that if part of Amazon died, then they didn't have a problem. So it's actually more thinking when you go into this, how can I take advantage of some of these cloud technologies? How can I architect to take advantage of writing applications in a different way? And that's where you're seeing the death of some of the relational databases. It's why Oracle and some of the other people are having interesting conversations right now, because as you'll probably know, scaling a relational database to be in 7 different locations at the same time, geographically spread, is rather difficult and incredibly expensive. But when you start looking at some of the new big data technologies, some of the platform as a service technologies, some of the ways that the larger internet companies, as you call it, the larger cloud companies are running their infrastructure, you can actually build more resilient systems. These distributed denial of service attacks is another great example for cyber attacks. That's great because they will come and attack your website. That will take your website down if your website runs in 1 place or 2 places. If your website runs in several hundred places, it's not going to. And I think that's actually how you could probably take advantage of a lot of these technologies to make a difference to the way that you provide service. And so I would encourage you to start, and this is where conversations I have with my colleagues on the right as well, is starting to look at doing the resilience higher up the stack in software and starting to spend less and less on the expensive hardware resilience that we did in the past. And stop thinking about location as being the important thing, because location isn't actually the important thing. When you care about data security, it's not where it is, it's who has access to it. It used to be that where it is was who had access to it. Now that isn't anymore. So actually what you care about is not where it is, but who has access to it and how.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We had another question towards the... Yes, go ahead.
Maybe it's more like a kind of observation, because I very much agree to what most of you, Daniel and was saying a couple of things, Gavin was saying a couple of things. I've been involved in a lot of panels on iCloud. I'm CIO with DHL. We have a kind of private cloud. But I was confronted with the cloud first, really, in my private life a couple of weeks ago, when I got a message on my iPad that I had signed up for the iCloud of Apple. And it was telling me, you have been using now 4.5 gigs, and up to 5 gigs it's free. But now you have to sign up or to do something because your data is here and we don't know what to do. So I looked up, what can I do? And there's no offering in the Benelux of Apple of upgrading the gigabytes at this moment. So I couldn't do anything. So I waited, and then my daughter was coming up to me. After that, I was expecting my wife. We have 3 iPads in the house. And they said, what's happening to the data, Dad? What do you think that we could do? All our photographs are there. All the things of our friends are there. Are they able to see it? Do we have to pay for it now? Is it secure, etc.? Do we have to pay a lot or not? Are you going to have a central offering for us as a family from Apple or whatsoever? And I thought, well, this is coming close. Something is really happening. Well, going back to the cloud and iPads and apps, our members of parliament at the moment in the Netherlands all got iPads because they were provided with that. My board all has iPads because I gave it to them to have an experience. I think this is a good thing because people will realize that there is more than just talking about the cloud. It has to do with security, with data, with extensions, and who can you call? In this case, well, the guy at Apple, he died, so I cannot call him. Who am I going to call if I have a problem? Well, this is my thought, that there is more than just these high-level discussions. It will come to us at a low level and even at the hammer and nail level at some point of time. I think that was a very good example. But should we really be serious about it? Well, my answer would be yes, and you also said the same thing, so I get that message.
I'm sorry to take it again, but there's the consumerization of IT is a research area of mine, and the problem is that IT hasn't consumerized. That's the issue. Consumers have become better consumers. All the people you used to call users are now consumers as well, and they're coming to you with expectation levels of your organisation, such as they walk in and go, this is a good one for you, is they walk in and go, I've got an app on my iPhone that means I can manage and access my NatWest bank account, and I can transfer money, and I can do all these wonderful things. Why can't I access the CRM system? Oh, well, that's not secure. Well, hang on a second. And so the fundamental change there is the fact that, we, as CIOs, I'm seeing a shift in thinking to, and this is the fundamental shift you have to do, because a lot of this cloud service provision actually is about how do I provide access to anyone, anywhere, on any device, because that's the demand I'm now meeting. And what I think the fundamental mindset change we have to do is stop thinking that we own things and think more about that we deliver services to things. So when someone comes to you with an iPad, you shouldn't be thinking, oh God, how do I manage that device? You're never going to manage that device. What you have to think is, how am I going to deliver services and data and applications securely to that device in a way that meets my risk assessments and that bases up on any analysis that I want to do in that context. So that's more how you should be thinking, and that's the conversations I'm seeing, is this evolution of how do I change how I deliver IT from being I own a desktop and I deliver stuff to a desktop or a laptop to how do I deliver services to any device anywhere. And that actually requires a shift in thinking around the way you deliver IT, because you have to start throwing away this thing you've got called the corporate LAN. Because the corporate LAN is there hidden behind firewalls, and it's this we're all protected thing that is going away. Because people turn up and go, well, I need this. Well, you can't put that on the corporate LAN. Why not? Well, because our corporate LAN's really insecure once you're on it. Which is actually the real answer. That's the subtext, okay, is once you get something on our corporate LAN, you can do anything. And so we're seeing a shift in thinking forced by cloud to how do you shrink down your delivery to say I'm going to deliver out of my data centers or collection of data centers or external services to any device anywhere. Suddenly you then realize, wow, I can just turn all my office connections into being the internet. I don't have a corporate LAN anymore. They can print using web printing. Then security is great because you don't have the I'm sorry, I thought I was on the VPN conversation with users. So start treating them as consumers and realize, because they now look at you as one of the providers of IT services to them, alongside Apple, Google, Facebook, and all the other people that provide IT services to them. And if you start acting like those, then you'll find that you've got a lot to learn from them as well.
Okay. All right, very good. Yes, we have time for one more question, so go ahead.
Joe, it was interesting that you pointed out the example of MC grids being used for burst computing during trade cycles.
Yeah.
Isn't that just capacity management? What's cloudy about it? And that's kind of the question. Where do we stop from being capacity management, and where do we go into the paradigm of the cloud shift? And this is kind of, from a strategy point of view, it's an interesting question.
It's moving from dedicated hardware to dedicated pieces for dedicated jobs. So your traditional capacity management was, I've got so many Z-series boxes, for example, that run my trading platform. Have I got enough if I meet some burst in demand? That's your classic 20%. As opposed to putting in place some layer that breaks the logical from the physical. Virtualization is something that does that. There's other ways, but it's one of the ways that allows you to have multiple commodity pieces of hardware assigned to different jobs. That's where it starts to be cloudy, I think.